Thanks for checking out our podcast. If you are interested in learning more about writing, go check out our syndication page, seriouswriter.com, where you can find resources, articles, videos, topical classes, and the Brew Ink Podcast. Again, seriouswriter.com. We thank you for listening.
All right, and welcome everyone back to another Brew Ink Podcast. We are excited to be here with you guys tonight. We have been endeavoring through this beautiful holiday season. There are still a few birthdays in my family that I still need to go purchase gifts for, but how about you guys?
We did a Secret Santa with my family, and that's been
nice.
fun, except I had some trouble with my partner in that everything that she wanted, I saw it and then was like, yeah, I'll get it. And then suddenly it's Christmas right around the corner, a couple weeks out, and went and looked, and everything she had on her list was sold out.
Yeah.
I managed to find one item, and I was like, I didn't realize how bad the situation was at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll look for this other thing she was asking for, and I'll just buy them tomorrow. And then tomorrow morning, I went onto the website, and it was like permanently sold out.
Just gone.
Permanently.
Yeah. So we got stuff figured out.
So you made her a canoe. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that
Heck,
sounds
I
like
wish. Man, I tried to do a kayaking, like a build your own skin-on-frame kayak
Yeah.
workshop a couple years back.
I remember. That's why I
Yeah.
made the joke, because it was awesome.
I remember that.
I was like, I'm not even man enough to do that. And
Yeah, man,
Katie's doing it.
Keely, the guy who does it, has been building kayaks and during the quarantine time because he can't travel, and he puts them on sale. And I was like, shoot, we've got the money for one. It'd be tight, but we've got the money for one. Except shipping a kayak is extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
And he's not even offering that as an option. So otherwise, we'd have to drive out to 300 miles within Seattle. And I don't know anybody out that way to even ferry the kayak back.
Right.
But
Yep.
someday.
Someday.
What's on my Christmas list.
How about you, Britt? Any big ticket items that you got?
No, we really not scaled back because we had a little bit more of a budget this year, but we didn't want to put our budget into stuff.
Yeah.
We just, a few years ago, and this is just us personally, but a few
Yeah.
years ago, there were a couple Christmases in a row where the amount of stuff
Right.
was
Overwhelming.
insane.
Yeah.
And that's from aunts and uncles and grandparents.
Yeah.
And my kids were 3 and 5 and 7 and coming home with more stuff than they could ever play with or look at. And then my kids have gotten to that stage now, 15, 13, and 11, where they're not as interested in physical stuff, as toys and stuff like that. And so, anyway, they have all the electronics that they need. It's one of those things where we're trying to scale back on stuff.
Yeah.
And so we put more money aside for experiences. So
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, we put more money aside for, like, let's go to the aquarium. You want to go, I mean, this is for dad, not everybody else, but like Civil Rights Museum, or do you want to go have lunch downtown at the Atlanta Breakfast Club? And we're going to do medieval times.
Yeah,
and like,
that'll be fun.
Like, there's some stuff that costs a decent amount of money.
Right.
And then we're saying,
To do as a family, for sure.
And to do as a family, that costs some cash.
Yeah.
But instead of spending all that on just toys and junk that maybe they'll like, but whatever,
Might be gone within a year.
Yeah, I'd rather give experiences. I'd rather us go out as a family and have an experience and just have those memories. And so that's basically what we're going to do. For me, I would rather give my kids memories, because I don't remember when I was 12 what I got for Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, some people do. Some people have great memories, and I'm just talking about me. But you know what I do remember? I remember conversations. I remember laughter. I remember how I felt. I remember those things. So that's just what we try to do. I did finish some shopping this morning, just because, it's such a hard time for us because Becca's a teacher. And so it's the end of school, and then Elisha's birthday, my middle child, my daughter, is is the 17th. So
December, yeah.
So that's another reason we try to kind of scale back for Christmas, because we're like, we just don't have the margin to go shopping and get a lot of big gifts, and you end up kind of wasting money, I think, that way anyway. So anyway,
that's where we're at right now. We're drowning in our endeavors of. Aiden's birthday was today. He turned 4, and so we had to do a bit.
Happy birthday, Aiden!
Happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday, Aiden. We had family and friends over the weekend. We had a bounce house, and we did s'mores out by the fire pit and all that. So we had to do birthday stuff, and then also we got to do Christmas stuff. And my oldest son asked for an electric drum set for Christmas.
Yeah, he did.
And Dad did deliver with that. So
nice.
He is well aware of this too, because Amazon was delivering a box that had a picture of the drum set all over it.
Right.
Wow.
So he has
smart.
been very excited to play with that. But then I was feeling convicted, because I was like, "Oh, I got him, a expensive gift," and my youngest, it's his birthday month and it's Christmas. I gotta get him something too. So we got him one of those 2-seater Power Wheel cars. Cool. Yeah, which is something we've been like wanting to get for the past couple years for Christmas, and we kept pushing it off because it's not a cheap item.
Yeah.
And we kept pushing it off. I was like, you know what, this is probably the last year that he's really going to be small enough to enjoy that. Mm-hmm. So, but now in my head, I'm thinking exactly what you're thinking. It's like, okay, next year it's all going to be experiences and. Well, even this year we told them, you're not getting a lot of toys. You're not getting a lot of things this year. And my son, Liam, he actually did. He asked, he's like, I want clothes this year. And I'm like, we can do that.
Yeah, nice.
We can do that for you.
Good.
So it was good. But our topic for tonight, we are going to talk about things that you want to accomplish, goals, or things that you're looking forward to for 2021. And I can start. Mine is simple. I'll probably have more goals as I go on. But if you look over to your left, your right, that is a keezer right there. That is a freezer that has my kegs in it.
Okay.
And my plan is to build a collar on it. It's called a keezer collar. Basically, it spaces out the lid from the body with some wood, and you give some nice shine and shellac and all that. And that then mounts the taps into the system so that it's still completely sealed, and then you can just tap from it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and we'll have the chocolate stout that's in there on tap once I get all that. I've had some issues with leaky lines in my CO2, so it has not carbonated well, and I've got to go fill up my tank again and try and find this leak that's somewhere in the hose that I thought I'd fixed, but that's my goal.
There's a mega church sermon in there somewhere.
Right, yes. Find the leak, the leaky hose.
You got to find those leaky lines, man.
So that's probably one of my closest goals for 2021. And then, of course, continuing to write and progress in all of those areas. What about you, Katie?
My goal is to read more books.
Yes.
I've noticed that my writing has really been suffering with the lack of books that I've been reading this year. I've read a couple, but not nearly as much as I used to. And just between, life changes, having a kid, and
I feel you. Nope.
How to read books. Yeah, there are a couple on my shelves that I've bought a while ago that I'm finally going to pick up and get moving on. And I don't know, book recommendations. If y'all have book recommendations, I dig everything. Yeah. Sci-fi, fantasy kind of, but I like thoughtful stuff.
What's your goal for carving out that time to make sure it happens? You going to do it like Saturday mornings or?
I don't know. Probably just setting apart time in the evening. When the child isn't pulling my finger, trying to go places and read her own books, which is just delightful. She interrupts my work day so I can read her books.
That's awesome. That is cute.
I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, just finding a way to set that time apart, whether it's just once a week. Once I get into a book, it's not going to be once a week, but making a point of going out and finding something I'm really interested in. There are a couple of authors that I've been eyeballing for a while, and I think I'm just going to take the plunge, and whether that's from the library or the bookstore.
I love the library. It's an easy one to just go 50 pages. Do I love it? Do I not love it? You know, like I have no guilt about stopping,
right.
you know?
Right.
The trick is just finding the first book in a series.
Oh, yeah. That's why you request it. You can request it.
This is true. I forgot that was a thing.
And that's my favorite thing.
It usually shows up within 2 weeks because that's usually when someone has to bring it back.
Yeah.
And I've been enjoying Britt's posts. That you do in the morning where you're like sitting in the armchair and you've got your coffee, you got your book there, and the Christmas tree in the background.
Yeah,
and
those are my Saturday mornings. Yep. I try to read on Saturday mornings because those are times I have a little bit more, not free, but you know, a little more free. I can just kind of get into a book because, like you said, that's the trick. Once you get into a book, you will find time to read it. Like you'll, you know, even if it's just 20 pages here and there, like you'll find time to read. So that's when I generally try to get into like a longer period of reading and really get kind of some momentum going. Yeah. But you know, talk about Naomi coming to read you books.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time, and I'm not going to say my mother was annoyed by it because I think she loved it. But that is one reason she taught me how to read because she taught me how to read when I was 4, and one of the reasons was because I would not leave her alone with books. I just read this book. She's like
you got to figure this out.
Yeah.
You read your own books. How about that? And of course I was in, man, I loved it. So for me, as far as for 2021, I'm still looking forward to maybe getting a book contract on a fiction book. That's been kind of on my bucket list, not bucket list, my goal list, for some time. And you know, I've got some contacts and some interest in some things, but the publishing industry is really slow right now. And you know, two of my books that were supposed to come out this past fall aren't coming out until summer and fall of 2021.
Oh wow, yeah.
So you know, even if there's interest in a novel, you know, it just moves slow. And so that's my biggest probably goal for 2021. But you know, I have a lot of little goals that are you know, part of that. And you know, like I was telling you guys earlier before we started, just even the week before Christmas and New Year, between Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to be working my tail off on a couple projects. So I've got a lot more freelance writing work happening in the next year that have really come together in the last couple of weeks. So that's been a blessing, man. I mean, that's been something I wasn't really expecting, and it just kind of happened. So so just staying consistent with that. My problem is you know, kind of like your eyes are bigger than your stomach kind of thing. I'm that way with writing sometimes. I'm like, oh, sure, I can do that. And then I'm like, oh my God,
what have I done?
And probably a lot of writers
I told you
are that
2
way.
weeks. 2 weeks.
But I think those are my big goals for 2021 is just, you know, getting a couple book contracts at least, because it's going slow. So I'd like to continue to kind of move on those, but you know, also just keep continuing to build the podcasts. I think there's a lot of movement, a lot of positive things happening with this podcast and with a couple of my other podcasts that's happening. So it's fun.
Yeah, we definitely have more ideas than we have time for recording and editing. So podcasting just as an industry as a whole is definitely on an upward movement at everywhere you go. Even like listen to the radio. Every radio personality has a podcast now. Every like news anchor on TV or whatever had like everyone's gravitating towards this medium just because it's so free and available. Like you really have no limit on what you could do. If you're creative, you can find something engaging and entertaining.
There are a couple role-playing podcasts that I follow and I know that are coming up. So D&D is a lot of people are starting to broadcast their games.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and that's thanks to things like Critical Role and the Adventure Zone.
Now, are they broadcasting those live and then also keeping them?
Critical Role was broadcasting live. They're not at the moment. And then the Adventure Zone was completely just audio.
Yeah. Okay. That's
so
cool.
that's really opened up stuff. So like you're saying, different creative avenues to tell a story and to engage with one.
Yeah. And YouTube's becoming a big part of that as well. And like you're saying, it's just what do you have time and energy and margin to actually do?
Yeah.
And so that's what I said before about trying to make the right priorities and be wise about what I say yes to. That probably should be my number one goal.
Yeah.
For 2020. What do I say yes to? But
you have a whole book about it.
I do have a whole book about it. And one of the things I've learned, and I don't even know if I put it in the book, but one of the things I've learned is that saying yes to some things means you have to say no to others.
Yes.
And that's part of saying yes is what you say no to. So.
Well said.
Well said.
Speaking of which, Katie said yes to writing this next part of the story.
Ooh, I sure did.
I've been looking forward to this.
I know, me too. And it's that, it's getting to the point in the story where things are not critical as to what, but
Getting there.
Just getting there. Yeah. We're definitely having to sit and think through more strategically where we're taking this story at this point.
Yeah. We're going to finish it up here. Who knows how many, but we're getting close to the end.
Soon.
Yeah. Excellent. So we're going to jump right into the story, and we hope you guys enjoy.
Chapter 11, Demarcation. You plan on taking me in, Sheriff? Callie O'Shea had said those words before, but never to a friend. But Arthur wasn't a friend with that dossier in hand, not with the law around his neck. He wasn't a friend when she appraised him like she had praised many men before. She looked for his gun, made measure of his posture, calculated how quick he might get to his feet, who was around him who might fight back or flee, where exactly those healing bullet wounds were in case she needed a further advantage. Arthur Morris was just another mark. She could take him right here and he'd never stand a chance. But neither would she, not with Whitaker nosing around her door like a wolf in winter. Pull that trigger and she'd be as good as dead herself. Arthur shifted in his seat. No, not yet, Callie, but I am going to need that ledger you've got there. I've been requested to return it to its rightful owner. The gunslinger faded and the old woman sagged, feeling her age and feeling trapped and feeling that wolf's teeth around her throat as she looked, not at another corpse walking, but her friend. Her friend. Shame that she'd even considered it filled her, and anger too that she was being pressed. And if I don't, she rasped, then it's gonna put both of us in a difficult situation, Arthur replied, looking up at her steadily. Callie sighed and shook her head. Fine. Take it. She shoved the ledger over. She had what she needed from it anyway. Schmidt had promised her, and Cecil had made a copy of the ledger. Against her better judgment, Callie dragged a chair out from the table and sat. A glance toward the bar found Goldberg, and he nodded, already turning to pour the whiskey. So, she drawled, dragging her cold blue gaze back to Arthur. What are you going to do about this? The dossier was heavier than she had remembered the last one being, but she knew all the stories it contained. Arthur tucked the ledger into his breast pocket. I don't know, he murmured. There's a federal warrant out for your arrest, and plenty of folk looking for Cecil. I can't ignore this, Callie. It would make me no better than Whitaker. Then where does that leave us? Callie growled. I was counting on you to help me, and now I've got you threatening to play hero after all I've done for you. Who do you work for, Morris? The people or the law? Goldberg swung by with Callie's whiskey and slipped away just as quickly. My job, Arthur replied once the barkeep had returned to his post, is to work for the people under the guidance of the law. I told you I'd help against Whitaker, and I intend to keep my word. And then what? She snapped. If this works and he goes, then what? You still gonna drag me back east? She curled her hand around the glass. What's your plan if you can't get enough of the stakeholders to back out? Arthur looked to the dossier still in her hand. I figure I'll think of something should the time come. You'll what? Arthur said. Burn his place down? Make sure you finish the job? This isn't the wildlands you and Cecil roamed back in the day. You can't just shoot your way out of things anymore. Most of the town's gone, or they're happy and riding high with what Whitaker gave them. You got nobody else standing with you, Callie. I don't want to see you get hurt, and that's what's going to happen if you continue this path. Callie's eyes narrowed with fury, but Arthur went on. Maybe you should consider taking his offer and leaving. There's land further west. Callie slapped the dossier down on the table. How dare you? You said you were willing to help, but here you are, next breath later, telling me you're in bed with him. I should have known. That's not it at all, Callie. Arthur rose to his feet, sloshing both their drinks as he loomed toward her. I don't want to find you dead in a ditch because you're too stubborn to see the lightning for this storm. You're up against things you can't fight, and right now I'm finding it hard to see why you won't just yield. Take what stock you got left and sell it or go elsewhere. There's nothing left for you here. Callie slammed her whiskey back and set it down with a hard crack. I'll see you around, Sheriff. The clouds piled in thick over Pride's Creek, bringing a howling wind with them. There'd be snow tonight, and ice. Cecil dropped another armload of wood beside the stove while Callie strained off the ground coffee into cups for both of them. I don't know what to do, Cecil. Whitaker's found our trail, and you and I both know they aren't going to let us go this time. Cecil shoved a log onto the fire. I think it's time we answer for what we've done. He didn't look up when Callie's eye fell on him. Me, I got a chance with a court, but you know what they'll do to you, Callie said. After all we've done, you're ready to just give up? What else is there? Cecil rocked back into his chair, looking as old as Callie felt. The ranch is gone. Even if we could sell what's left, we won't have enough to buy new stock. Those repairs were costly, and we don't have much left, and now this? I'm tired of running. Callie scoffed. You could go back to the tribe. I'm not leaving. This is my land. I bought it. I've worked it. I've built my life here after having nothing. Nothing. Cecil's chair squeaked as he pushed it onto its back legs. That's no excuse for people like Whitaker. His dark eyes met hers, and for a moment the fire in Callie's heart dimmed. I know. I'm gonna keep pressing those investors. If I get one more, that should make the others reconsider. If Morse decides to take me in, the least I can do is make sure Whitaker doesn't have the funds to keep his project going. Callie ran her hand through her gray hair, pulling it loose and braiding it over again. All my life I've done nothing good. Grew up with a knife in one hand and a gun in the other, and I chased down every last one of those men who did me wrong. And when I had my fill, I chased down others until I got bored with it. No home, no family. Cecil grunted at that, and Callie shook her head. No family but you, of course. When I finally decide to do something productive, build something up instead of burning down, I get a few good years out of it before someone comes and tries to uproot it all. I was hoping to be buried right here, die old and happy, like my folks never got to. I'm too tired to start over again, Cecil. Cecil hummed idly to himself as he watched. There's honor in a death in battle. Is that what you think you're gonna do, if you give up and leave here in chains? Remind me, which state are you wanted in that'll give you a fight to the death? Callie finished off her braid with a quick nod. Look at us. Too old to keep running, too tired to start over. Too stubborn to roll over, belly up. A fight to the death might be just what we need. Give a little pep to the legend, One last blaze of glory? The snowstorm set in around them as they whiled away the evening, feeding the fire as needed. The snow continued well into the next day, slowly creeping up the side of the house. Black Claw paced and bounced restlessly in his stall, but Callie left him there. A salvaje with restless energy would upset the Serreros, and she didn't need them excited, penned up near the house like they were. The Crashers hopped back and forth in their paddock, making the best of their new environment, sending chunks of snow blasting over the fence as they chased and headbutted each other. Within the barn, the more tender coursers curled up alongside each other, placid and quiet as they waited out the storm. Callie smiled to herself, enjoying the sight of the beasts and rocky landscape smoothed over by the snow. It was a beautiful place, and she couldn't think of anywhere else she'd rather be than here. Black Claw's restlessness continued on into the night as he called. What's gotten into him? Callie huffed as her fingers worked leather jesses for the coursers. He ain't usually so antsy. Wolves, maybe, Cecil replied. Been hearing them edge closer in the last week or so. Ought to take him hunting tomorrow, see what's round. Callie nodded. I think I will. See what Whitaker's been up to. Snow's picking up again. They watched it through the window when the smoke began filling the house. Damn flu must be snowed over. I'll go check. Cecil shuffled on his coat and boots and stepped out, leaving Callie inside as she worked. The single crack of a rifle echoed over the hill a moment later. "Cecil?" Callie called. She was on her feet in an instant, her coat over her shoulder and pistol in hand. Snow blew into the house as she pushed her way off the porch and into the darkness. "Cecil!" The scent of smoke only thickened, and as she turned to look back, the back wall of her home lit with fire. In the dim light of the moon, tracks led down the hill, and from the barn, Black Claw bellowed. Callie's eyes widened as her stomach dropped. She called Cecil's name once more, but didn't hear him over the wind.
All right. Nicely done.
Very good.
I like having you right after me because I like setting things up and then see how you like craft it into the next part of the story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I gave her a good setup, or just I felt like you were able to develop the tension between Arthur and Callie a lot better than I was trying to force into the last few word count allotments that I had. And I remember we had talked about that. You're like, why don't you just cut it early and give me more to work with there? And I thought that was such a great suggestion, and it turned out really good.
Thank you.
Absolutely, it did.
Yeah. And then I like to see where Britt's going to take this.
Yeah. I don't know what I can blow up yet. I'm going to see. No, I'm kidding. No, I like it. It's a great setup. And then and I'm really excited about the
Cecil's
next one.
disappearance? Or?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I like the way she ended it too. I like the way you ended it.
Thank you.
Katie. I like it.
So let's clarify. The thing that won for your choices was either death or writer's choice, and writer's choice won. And so you had decided to do a combination of kind of antagonists.
Of the weather becoming a problem and antagonist actions.
Yeah.
And you had teased earlier, I think in like chapter 7 or something like that, like you had talked about the snowfall kind of coming down and it melted by the midday. And we had talked about, the weather kind of being a little more colder and inclement, and now it's actually coming down.
I've been working on that since chapter 2.
Yeah.
Building toward that, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
So a great little way to show passage of time.
We need to do the Wheel of Malfortune.
Wheel of Fortune.
All right, so these two spins are going to be for Britt. You guys, our listeners, our faithful listeners, are going to be able to choose what Britt has to incorporate into his chapter. The first spin is going to be bankrupt. No, that's natives. Natives. We really got to get them into the story. I mean, they've been in the story, but...
Yeah, they kind of, we haven't really brought them in yet.
Yeah. Second spin is a trip to Hawaii.
A dining room set.
Yeah, dining room set. Oh, writer's choice.
Writer's choice.
We've got natives as one choice, and we've got writer's choice. Britt's pretty creative, so
sometimes
I'd be interested to see what he chose.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, we're gonna keep posting these episodes throughout the end of this year and beginning of next, and feel free to leave any comments or share. That's really the best thing you can do. If you come across someone that says they like a podcast, you just tell them you've been listening to this one, and it's easy to get on podcasts, and it's on Apple, it's on Google, It's on Spotify.
It's on Amazon now.
Stitcher. It's on Amazon now.
Yep.
Woo! Cheers to that. Yeah. So get the word out. Tell people, this
Like,
season's
subscribe,
good.
share.
Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, raise a glass to inspiration and stay inspired, guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to make sure I'm back to balance.
Yeah.
We look pretty good.
Hello. Talk.
Hello.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yes, okay, dude.
I really like The Mandalorian.
I know, right? I just want to talk about that.
My biggest disappointment with The Mandalorian is the fact that they didn't keep Mayfeld on. He should have been part of Boba Fett's crew.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah,
just the dialogue
Dynamic.
between these two really stoic characters, and you've got Mayfeld just cracking jokes and being snarky and
Well, and
pushing buttons and having Sniper Lady.
Fennec.
She
Yeah.
seems she'd be a great foil.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.